Ryan who attends, so I'm happy to have been invited along. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Human Made. We've been doing enterprise WordPress for since 2010, primarily as an agency. And then a couple of years ago, we also started a cloud hosting platform for enterprise WordPress called Altis. And so we've got a bit of experience on that side too. And then along with Karim, co-founded the Scale Consortium a year and a half ago or so, depending on exactly where we draw the line in the sand. Karim, I'll hand over to you.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. My name is Karim Marucchi. I am CEO of Crowd Favorite. Crowd Favorite was originally started by a gentleman named Alex King, who was one of the first contributors to the WordPress project.
I think, Karim, you hit the mute button.
You did, Karim.
Oh, sorry. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right.
You
Good
were just
morning,
going
everybody.
of the organization.
No problem. Good morning. I'm Karim Marucchi of Crowd Favorite. Crowd Favorite was founded by Alex King, one of the first contributors to the WordPress project. And then I was lucky enough to really have found open source in around 2007 or so, having been in the CMS world on the licensed side since the mid-90s. And when I found it, I just was enthralled by it, and one thing led to another. The next thing I knew, we were involved with helping the Walt Disney Company come up with their migration to open source for a lot of their projects. And then we've been working in the WordPress community for a long time. Real quick background on the Scale Consortium. It's actually not a new idea. John Ekman's here with us. It originally was an idea that he also was a part of founding way back in 2015. The 5 of us came together and said, let's come up with a way to help the enterprise understand what WordPress can do. We are all very aware of our very modest beginnings as a blog, and then a modest CMS, and then an integrator of things. And with the way that WordPress has grown in this slow and steady way, we tried to come up with a way to help communicate that out, because the WordPress project, as a lot of you might know, is a very large project that has very many audiences and of all sizes. So it was very hard to figure out how to bring together that messaging. Matt Mullenweg's company Automatic has challenged in trying to make sure that it's addressing all of those things at the same time. So in 2015, we tried to bring something together and we just couldn't make it click. So it's been about 2 years now that very quietly and slowly we've been trying to basically approach the community. The reason why we don't have a fancy presentation for you today is because we've spent the last 2 years as a group actually honing the concept of bringing together basically competing agencies and laying out a framework of, we're going to go out to the market and explain what the WordPress offering is for the enterprise, and set some hard and fast processes and rules for not being competitive in those communications, and not trying to advance any one agency or any one product, but purely look at it from a, what is the benefit to the enterprise buyer and enterprise procurement. So it's been a slow road, because we literally went to everybody in the community, leadership-wise, and anybody who contributes to WordPress privately and to the side, and said, this is what we're trying to do, this is how we want to do things. And we are just now starting to come out into the public eye. In fact, at WordCamp Europe in Turin, just a month and a half ago, we were lucky enough to basically have our sort of final coming out party, saying, I think we've achieved the communications to the inside of the community, and now we have to turn our focus outward. So we are just beginning to organize. That's sort of a background on it. And for where we're focusing and where we're going, I'm going to hand things back over to Tom real quick.
Sure. Thanks, Karim. Yeah, I mean, maybe I can say a couple of words about like I think the core problem we've got in the WordPress space and why something like Scale Consortium is necessary as well. Which was true back in 2015, or as true then as it is now. I guess we've got this kind of amazing thing in WordPress where we're all collaborating on the technology, and we've like out of that been able to build a CMS that's pretty damn successfully, even at the enterprise level. Certainly more than the sum of its parts, really, in terms of the those of us that are contributing. But on the kind of marketing, go-to-market, positioning side, we're all of the different vendors and service providers in WordPress, we're all like doing that work. But the sum total of that, I think, is like less than the sum of its parts overall. And so WordPress actually doesn't show up as much as it should, given the combined resources we're all putting towards that. And that's for like a bunch of pretty, I think, reasonable reasons. We're all obviously marketing ourselves as much as we're marketing WordPress. There's a lot of duplication. We're all answering the same questions over and over again. Here's our white paper on why WordPress is secure. Here's our white paper on how to scale. Here's our white paper on whatever. And so there ends up being a lot of duplication, a lot of like waste there to some degree. And as a buyer, you come to the community, you come to the ecosystem, and where do you go? There's no real like central place to go. So you probably bump into a platform or an agency first, and then that's where you consume these things. And so I think that's long been a challenge, and so Scale kind of formed as the solution to that. I think there's like a couple of I think this like collaborating as a community to solve that problem is ultimately preferable to, I think, the alternative, which is that if we don't solve this collectively, it'll fall to one or two of the vendors to like solve it, and they will end up essentially becoming the single vendor. That's kind of one of my like fears, if we don't manage to do this collectively, is that then you end up with an ecosystem that's dominated by like one or two vendors. And so, yeah, I guess that's kind of my take a bit on the challenges that we have, and why something like Scale is necessary. What we've been doing so far, like, as Karim said, a lot of that is the groundwork to come together. I think we've been able to do some pretty interesting things already, just in terms of like, this is quite a small example, but taking a bunch of the like best case studies that we've collectively got, and instead of those being Human-Made's case study for how we delivered value to a client, or 10up's case study for how 10up delivered value to a client, writing that as a WordPress case study, why WordPress was the best platform. That kind of to the single vendors kind of people here, that will probably seem kind of wild, but we don't really have that in WordPress. And so us all pooling those, rewriting them, coming up with some branding. We also collaborated on launching WordPress.org/enterprise as a page, which is like the beginnings of something there. And so I think those are small examples, but I think they speak to the kind of work that we see ourselves doing, like coordinating across the ecosystem, looking for those opportunities. There's obvious next steps around things like white papers, events, giving I think buyers that like clearer entry point into what is enterprise WordPress before they then get to like vendor selection, I guess.
Right.
Maybe I'll stop there because I could keep going forever, but Karim, jump in, or whether there's like guidance we could already take in terms of whether people have got questions, or there's like something specific.
One of the reasons we're excited to do this is literally to come to this group and say, as a small nascent organization where you've probably known WordPress for years, but you've had your assumptions about it, we are here for feedback. We are here for questions. We are here to join this community and the community at large, even of single vendor solutions, just to say, we're trying to pull together an idea of how we can even collaborate with others. Quick example, a lot of WordPress agencies, like I see JJ's here as well, a lot of us work in system integration. We're using WordPress to actually tie together information from some of your platforms and some of your software. So we want to be part of this community. We want to be understanding how we can integrate better and work better with others. So we humbly say, we're here without the shiny presentations and without a plan to take over the world. We're here to say, how can we work with all of you? So any feedback is welcome, and we welcome information.
Let's do it. So my Toronto friend Justin asked in the chat, what is the mandate of the consortium? Can you just speak a little bit to the foundation that the consortium is standing on?
Tom, you want that one?
Sure. You mean in terms of the like legitimacy of what we're doing?
Justin, do you want to jump in?
So, yeah, so, sorry, I'm on the train right now, so I don't know how my audio is, but I was thinking more like the mission statement, the raison d'être.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it comes down to growing WordPress in enterprise. You know, I think that individually, there's a lot of players. You know, there's a lot of agencies and platforms and some plugin companies within the space who care a lot and have a vested interest in growing WordPress in enterprise. But there is no joined-up effort, and the WordPress project as a whole is much larger than enterprise, and so is not singularly focused on growing WordPress in the enterprise space. And so I think that you know, we will succeed if we can meaningfully grow WordPress in enterprise, and we'll fail if we don't.
And there's a lot of lack of information out there, and you get different answers depending on who you talk to. So trying to create I'm not going to call it non-bias, but at least an agency and product bias, but honest central answer for the first time towards the enterprise, right?
All right. So there's two of you. You did a wonderful 10-minute duet intro, but now I see 3 raised hands, which is amazing. So let's do as if we were meeting in person. Let's do each 3 or each one, and then you wrap up the comments, the questions. So let's start with my German friend Bastian.
Hello. I'm in the car right now, so sorry for not introducing myself earlier. Sorry. I have a question. Are there any prerequisites to join the Scale Consortium? What is a nice idea, by the way. I see what you try to achieve there, and I think this is quite helpful for buyers. But it's interesting for me to understand who is actually behind the Scale Consortium and who can join.
All right, very good. Thank you. Very good. Stereotypically, you know, Canadian on a train, a German in a car. I like it. Let's stay in Canada. I'll go back to Canada. Seb, if you're ready.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Do you want me to ask my question before we answer the other one? Or?
Yeah. Oh, you want to answer Sebastian's question? No, no. Just add your comment or question, Seb.
Okay, I have a different question though. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of this, and I'm actually looking at the website while we're talking here, and I see lots of really good kind of position statements and things like that. You know, obviously that matters with enterprises like security, cost of ownership, and all that stuff. I'm wondering if it's part of the plan at some point to introduce reference architectures or things like that, right? Like one of the challenges that I've seen with WordPress over the last decade and a bit is it's kind of all over the place, right? And it's hard to know who you're hiring. It's, you ask 2 WordPress developers to build you the same thing and you have wildly different things. And so I'm wondering if there's ever a process, I'm thinking things like even, I don't know about official vetting, but reviewing and vetting plugins or talking about what can be, what's been looked at by outside experts or third parties and things like that. If that's part of the plan, so I feel like that's a missing piece.
Very good.
In general, not for you guys, but just in general in the WordPress ecosystem.
Very good. Thank you, Seb. And then we'll do Roland, and then back to the 2 of you. So Roland, your turn.
I was maybe I missed it, but I was just wondering if WordPress VIP was somehow part of the equation here. For a long time, I've not been too much in the WordPress community, but for a long time, to me, the answer, when you think enterprise, I was seeing VIP as the way to go. Just curious about that.
Perfect. Thank you, all 3 of you. And now back to Karim and Tom.
All right. I think
I'll take members, Karim. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take membership. You take tech, and we'll split VIP.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, who can join? honestly, anybody can join. We have taken a very slow approach to letting members in. But the idea is this. We started with a core group of 5 that we knew ahead of time would adhere to very strict non-marketing rules and could help figure out how to bridge the best of the WordPress community rules with the best of how do we address the enterprise rules. And then we had a first tranche of second level members, which were another 5 that brings us to 10. That again, these were self-selected because there's been a lot of us in this space for a long time. Some of our first picks weren't available at the time. They were, going through different changes, and we respect that. We're hoping they're going to join us soon. But the bottom line is we've been doing things very slowly because it was very important to make sure that everybody understood as they started working together that we are not becoming a marketing organization. This is not about marketing any one firm. This is almost like the open source mission of advancing the messaging of the open source platform. So there is no equality of I'm going to put in an hour and hopefully I'm going to get $1 back. It doesn't work that way. This is actually contributing to the messaging. So we've been going very slow to make that happen. But recently we've been reaching out to all sorts of partners to say, we're looking for partnership in working together on an event or a campaign or something, whether you're a member or not, to be able to work with others. Some of those will naturally become part of the second tranche. Others will be outside. For instance, to just touch on the third question, hosts aren't part of membership right now. Membership is just seen as agencies, but they have supported us. All 3 major hosts in the space, including Pantheon, Roland, have supported us in bringing the message to the community and now starting to support us in bringing the message out to the public. So we're going very slow on purpose, but we will talk to everybody and anybody. We will start a campaign with anybody and everybody, as long as they understand that this is not a sort of marketing your particular product or agency initiative. This is initiative for the benefit of the open source project, basically, towards the enterprise, very focused.
All right. The next one was also not a yes or no question, but over to you, Tom.
Yes, I guess that was a question around I guess kind of certification, helping buyers navigate the varying quality of or the broad range, I guess, of stuff that's available in WordPress. Yeah, I think that's definitely think that's a really interesting area. It's definitely a problem that exists within the space. It's a problem buyers face. It is still common in the space to take a client on who has been through one or more rough experiences with WordPress previously because they've happened to have chosen the wrong plugin or the wrong host or the wrong agency. I think there's a balance there. There is a lot of there's a lot that's great about the breadth that's available in WordPress too, and actually clients do buyers of WordPress do really appreciate that. They do really appreciate the long tail of stuff that's available, and so I think there's ways to get that wrong where it becomes you essentially remove this one of the main strengths of WordPress, which is its flexibility and long tail, by having a much more restricted set of enterprise grade stuff or something. And so I think there's a nuanced approach there, but I think there's definitely interesting things that we can do around what is enterprise WordPress? What does it mean to do WordPress at an enterprise level? What are the stuff, what are the plugins and themes and libraries and pieces that are commonly used? A lot of that information is actually quite hard to access at the moment, and could be made a lot easier. It would be nice if you could see, oh, there's 15 form plugins, which are the ones all the enterprise agencies are using, for example, would be useful information, I think. So I think there's stuff like that we could make pretty quick progress on and could provide quite a lot of value.
Great. And then for those who don't know WordPress VIP, perhaps that could be the start of your answer to splitting VIP.
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to, Jack? I don't mind speaking to that, Karim, or you're welcome to.
Sure. And it's good that we're here talking, because out of the Scale Consortium, it's Tom and I's agencies who are not VIP formal partners. VIP is one of the three major hosts in the WordPress space around hosting WordPress, and because they are owned by Automatic, they are seen a lot as the sort of default. Oh, I'm interested in WordPress, I'm going to go speak to VIP if you're in the enterprise space. It turns out that we wanted to make sure that, just like we weren't being too one agency centric, we specifically didn't want to have one particular voice be louder than the other. We're very careful about that outside the community, making sure that it's feeling equal. So at the very beginning, when there was some reticence even from the VIP team, we still chose some of their projects as the case studies that we published out there. We've asked JJ, we've asked John's company to let us publish case studies of theirs. The idea here is, when we did our first internal events, we only had 1 or 2 sponsors. I'm very happy to say, I don't have the image for you here today, but in Torino, when we had our sort of our coming out party, we had 3 sponsors, and it was VIP, Pantheon, and WordPress. And it's the first time I've seen those 3 logos together on one page, saying they have sponsored this for the benefit of the community. So this is really an open source approach, and we've got a lot of engagement from them now, and we're very happy about that, and looking forward to planning our first live event and some other things.
All right, very good. I think we covered all 3 questions. Anybody else have comments, questions, reflections, anything else on your mind? Tom, you want to add?
I guess things people could, look out for coming up. We'll all be at WordCamp US, which is in September, and so that's a good opportunity to chat in person there, and then look for more externally facing work from us. A lot of the work, the WordPress community is like a pretty complex community, and so there's been a fair amount of work to like thread the needle of organizing this to be what we actually want it to be. But as Karim said, I think we've like made more progress than ever before, I think, and now that unlocks, I think, our ability to do much more. We have a podcast which John Ekman is helpfully plugging for us, called Scaling Enterprise. We're doing that every 2 weeks. One is kind of more buyer focused, and then one is more kind of inside the WordPress community focused. So definitely check that out. Anything I'm missing, Karim? That's on Do the Woo network, so you can probably go and look for that on dothewoo.io, is it?
Exactly. And I will say thank you, Ryan, for reminding me it's not the 3 major WordPress hosts, it's the 4. Pagely has been very gracious as well, and been working with us as well. I did not mean to leave that out. My apologies. But yes, to answer that original question, we are willing and wanting to work with anybody who's interested in learning more or helping talk about WordPress, or partnering up, talking about integration. Even with other CMSs, talking to you guys.
Great. Any other comments, reflections here? We're coming up at the end, a couple of minutes left still. I don't think Seb, did you feel that you got your question answered?
Yeah, mostly. I was the other part of it was just like I had asked about kind of the idea of reference architecture, right? Of sort of having like opinionated reference implementations that people can reference, not just plugins. Like I know one of the things that when I was doing WordPress work, we sort of had an in-house policy, which was as few plugins as possible, right? Like trying to not just cram a bunch of stuff together, but really base it on requirements and try to build on what's there. And so that's the kind of area I think that if we're trying to evolve WordPress towards a common platform for enterprise, I think that'll be definitely one of the challenges you'll have. So
Yeah, I think that actually, that is one of the first steps we've been talking about on the technical side. I think that's actually easier than tackling like plugin certification or even like engineer certification or something. Actually, basically, this reference implementation, they already exist, across all of us enterprise agencies and the platforms, and are pretty compatible with each other. And so there's a pretty reasonable project there, I think, to consolidate those down and lift them up into some kind of guideline set of kind of reference implementations. Yeah.
Great. Let's hear it from Rob. I think joining from the home office. And
yes, home office, AI 1 to Z. I'm just curious, gentlemen, who is the quote unquote webmaster of Scale Consortium?
He's not here, unfortunately. But one of the members of Scale, we basically collaborate on that work, and so one of the members is the takes point on the website, and
nice.
We're all donating staff to that team. But I can definitely pass on feedback if you've got any. I would be gratefully received.
There's an amazing amount of information on it, and Bill Rogers and I were just thinking you could use a nice AI search. So he's made an overture to provide a search capability that we have.
Cool. There we go.
Very good. Thank you very much, Rob and Bill. And then walking around Utrecht, Larry.
Yeah, I'm just curious about how you all address the challenges or issues around competitors, co-opetition, or whatever you call that dynamic. Curious if there was any good guidance or stories you can share around that.
Yeah, I'll start off with, it really takes, the reason we're moving so slow, it really takes a meeting of the minds at the absolute leadership level. Quite literally, the CEOs had to come together and realize I had to actually edit my own marketing team before it even got to a first draft to the group, because we catch ourselves all the time talking about how our solution is better. And we had to really rewrite and come with a whole new, fresh attitude. One of the ideas is in doing an event together, we're literally not going to be allowed to mention our company names. We're here from Scale Consortium. The step and repeat with grayed out logos will be the only place you're going to see the member logos, and everybody's going to be there as Scale Consortium members. The truth is, customers could Google anybody and find out where you're from, but if you really focus all of your intent on the messaging for the open source project and towards the enterprise, I think we can get a reputation for not trying to sell WordPress, but be a point of information for WordPress. And that's truly the idea. Does that answer it, Larry?
That's exactly what that's the exact dynamic I'm wrestling with in some other stuff. And so thank you very much.
It does take from the leadership down, though. It really does.
And in some ways, we're quite used to it already institutionally in WordPress, because we all collaborate so much on the engineering side. And so it probably helped, or it probably helped a lot. It certainly helped a lot that there's already that groundwork there. Even then, this is more alien to the sales and marketing folks at all of our companies, that we're bringing in our competitors and doing events together and stuff. And so it's definitely taken work knocks as well. And I think ultimately it will probably only work in the long run if we are able to grow, right? Like ultimately, if we can grow the pie for everyone, then that makes sense. If not, then I imagine we will find ourselves competing, and that will undo the work.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tom.
Quick follow. Oh, sorry, Jonas.
I think that's all we had. We're right on time. Thank you to everybody who participated. It's an interactive call, work in progress. I think it's great news. Also, perhaps particularly important for the buyers. It's much needed. Listening to the problems you're trying to solve. I wish you all the best, and we'll certainly stay in touch and be very curious to see the progress that you made. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Appreciate all the questions. See you all.
You soon.
Bye.